Welcome to Homeward Bound. In this episode, I embark to go on a heartfelt journey of visiting family. Whether it's the excitement of reuniting with all the family members and loved ones, or going to nostalgic places that you did as a family, or starting new traditions with grandchildren and seeing what they are in wonder of and how much fun they're going to have meeting and enjoying their family cousins and aunts and uncles and great aunts and uncles. Stories that resonate with anyone who's ever packed a bag and gone for a trip back home. Highlighting the laughter, tears, or tears of laughter, and everything in between. We'll also discuss how these visits can spark meaningful conversations and strengthen family bonds. From navigating family dynamics to rediscovering childhood memories, each visit is an adventure waiting to unfold. Join me as I reflect on what it means to go home. So grab your headphones and listen to what will remind you of your own family visits and inspire you to cherish those moments that matter most. This is Season 2, Episode 4 of Family Dynamic Conversations Podcast. Family Dynamic Conversations, where families and stories come in all shapes and sizes. I come from a family of 12. You may be an only child. What matters is caring, sharing, and finding ways to relate to one another. So first, of course, you start the planning, the decision-making, the time, the schedules, and making sure everybody knows about it. Well, I have a family member, Samantha, that can organize that stuff and get it done. Here's how much you owe. This is when we're leaving. Done. And then we get to tell the family, hey, guess what? We're coming into town. Hope you're available. Let's do this. In a family of 12, I have now 8 brothers and sisters left, and I am trying to make sure I can at least get together and see all of them, if not on a one-on-one basis, as a gathering. Usually it's at my mom's house, now my sister Marcia's house, and that's where the gatherings always took place. That's where the invitations would go out from, and the holidays and family events, baptisms, weddings, baby showers, engagement showers, bridal showers, usually at mom's house. So that's all ready to go. I moved out of state when I was 21. So going back, I tried to get home at least once or twice a year when I could. And then when the family came, wasn't as often, but it just seemed to be more joyous because now you had little ones to bring into the group and have them meet their cousins and all play together, grow up together, and continue to communicate with each other. So much fun. And then the other part of planning is the idea of talking to your siblings. Some who you talk to maybe a couple times a year, maybe once a month, or maybe every 2 months. But when you go over those gatherings, you're always thinking, what should I talk about? What should I ask? Should it just become organic? Or then I put pressure on myself and go, oh, hey, AI, what are some great questions to get siblings talking about childhood memories? So I don't know if you ever put pressure on yourself. And it's not like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? It's just the idea of, I want the conversations to become more meaningful. As I keep saying, life is short. I'm 65 now. I have one younger sister and the rest of my siblings are older than me. So, you just don't know how much time you have left. So it's always good to think about what you could talk about to have some fun. So this trip home was over Easter weekend. I don't think I've been back for Easter in decades. And I didn't have my children having children to go to the Easter egg hunt. My niece Ellen and her husband AJ were so sweet and generous, and they planned it along with my other niece Ann Vogt and other nieces. There's Stephanie, there's Emily and Maddie, and all the in-laws from my nephews. So I knew we were in good hands, and they said they would make sure that the little ones had fun. So I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, Harper, and a 1.5-year-old Kinsley. So we knew they would have fun. Because searching for eggs outside, what? That was really nice of Ellen and AJ and Ann to plan that for us. I don't know if you ever go home for holidays, but it's quite exciting because there's actual event where all the people can get together that are available and come. And so you know that it's going to be a grand experience because everyone has fun getting outside and looking for little surprises and gifts in those eggs. For that Easter egg hunt, we were hoping for good weather. You always look at the forecast before you go home to Minnesota. You just don't know what it's going to be like on any given day. But it had been forecasting for a little cool weather, possible thunderstorm, and then a beautiful day. Hopefully, that all landed on the right days. One of my favorite things about going to Minnesota is experiencing the wonderful and dramatic thunderstorms and lightning storms and a deluge of rain. I just I just didn't want it to happen while we were in the airplane. So it didn't. Yay, thank you, God. But as we landed, the sprinkling started. As we got our rental car and drove out of the airport, sprinkling a little harder. And then maybe 15 minutes into it, the skies broke open and that thunder and lightning and rain, I think we even got hail, really came down. So my poor little granddaughters on either side of me were looking out the window with the biggest eyes like, and I'll put in some pictures of our little drive from the airport in Minneapolis to Mankato is about 90 miles. It can go pretty quick, and it's usually wide open spaces. Well, my son-in-law, Matt, was gripping that steering wheel tight because he could barely get the windshield wipers working fast enough to be able to see in front of you. Luckily, those little red taillights kept that distance and kind of idea of where you are. Well, at one point, they would start pulling over because the people in front of us were like, I think I'm done trying to navigate through this rain. So that was a little bit more challenging. But I loved it. And I know my kids who were in the car, Spencer and Samantha, loved it too. But it's just not fun when you're driving and you want to be safe with the two grandchildren. But loved it. Lasted the whole way home. Fantastic. Even to the point where, you know what? It did break. It broke as we got out of the car in Mankato. Pretty sure there was a little bit of light blue sky, and then it just kept coming through the clouds. And so the clouds kept coming through. Thunder kept happening. It was awesome if you like thunderstorms. And another great thing about that family home in Mankato is that it has this nice little porch. And Marcia's kept the furniture out there. The swing still works. Love that swing. And other nice lounging chairs. You can't fit a ton of people out there, but it's nice to kind of take shifts, and people would go out and listen to the rain and the thunder. My son-in-law, Matt, had his 3-year-old daughter, Harper, with him, and on his other side, Harper's cousin, Ivan, Ellen and AJ's son, and he was swinging, and it was dark, and I'll post some pictures in here, but talked about the thunder and the rain, and little Ivan says, I don't like thunder. And I said, yeah, I don't think you should if you're little. It's a little scary. But that's my favorite part of Minnesota is those thunderstorms, especially when you can sit on a porch, drink your coffee, sip your wine. I love it. Let me know if you like thunderstorms because I think they're great. You don't hear them much here in California. So going back and experiencing that was really fun. And now that my sister has purchased the house, we know we can continue to gather there, and it always makes it so special. Do you still have your old family home to go to when you go back and visit? Are you from a large town, a small town, a little hometown where most of your family knows everybody, and when you've moved out and moved away, you still have those tight connections? I didn't have a lot of time for visiting with friends, but it was just a 4-day weekend that we could fit into our schedule. So my husband, Bill, brought up something, and he said, you got to know that your mom, who has passed on a couple of years now, is looking down and watching the family gather back in that same home. And my dad, who grew up there, and my dad's dad, who built the house, You have all those surrounding souls. My sister Barb has passed. My mom and dad have passed. My brother Mike has passed. Steve and Mark. I think about, and maybe you do too, when you go home and that part has changed. And as you grow older, it's going to continue to change and it makes those trips back even more special because it's sad to think that those people are no longer there to experience the laughter and joy. And yet, at the same time, you can kind of hear them talking through other people. I think my son Spencer sounds like my brother Mike when he tells stories. I know my sisters have always said and quoted my mom, and they say these sayings that she always said, like, I don't think so. When you're telling a story, I don't think so, Janice. Or anybody else that's telling her something she may not agree with. But yes, I missed my mom being there. I missed my brothers and sister not being there. But I know that their energy was there. And every time we gather around that table or gather in the living room, there's a sense of their presence anyway. Let me know if you feel that way too when you go home and you're sitting in that same space that you all used to sit around and tell stories in and make each other laugh or make each other cry or whatever, if you still experience that when you go home. And along those same lines is the idea of those siblings that you have or have passed and the children they had. And now those children are having children. My daughter is expecting her third daughter, and her cousins, my siblings' children, their families continue to grow. And it's so wonderful seeing these families come together, recognizing their cousins, starting conversations like they did yesterday, and keeping in contact with texting and phone calls and all the other social media, which is so fantastic. But to see those extended families continuing to grow, it makes it doubly more precious because to me, when I think about it, I think about those people getting together and how those people will continue to gather when I'm long gone. And the idea of that bloodline being passed down, you have to stop every once in a while and just look around the room and realize these children are amazing and how lucky and blessed I've been to be able to witness my siblings having their children and those children having children and still wanting to get together. Some families just dissipate and go their separate ways, which is natural, normal thing to do. But at the same time, you have that really strong bond of people just thinking, you are important in my life and I want to get together and I want to see you and appreciate you and acknowledge the love that just is so powerful when you think about coming together. You know, in families, there are introverts and extroverts that come out. And a lot of times, those introverts are happy just listening, watching the surrounding chaos ensue, or the great conversations and storytelling that happens. But I am very happy to see how things have evolved where people feel comfortable contributing to those conversations and discussions and having their own perspectives and stories to tell. It's really fun to watch. On that line, my sister Donna wanted just the siblings together. There are a nucleus of Mankato families that have stayed in Mankato, and my brother Brian is just in the cities in Minneapolis area, and my sister Mary is in Massachusetts, so she was not there. Those who were in Mankato, my sister Donna said, let's just all get together. And as far as the siblings were concerned, she just wanted the siblings to get together to be able to talk about our experience, our perspective. Not that having the children around and bringing in their perspectives isn't great. It is. But it's an interesting thing how we don't separate ourselves just a little bit to be able to discuss things that we are all experiencing or going through, losing our mother at 100 years old, those kinds of things. And yet we didn't dwell on that kind of stuff. We just knew that we had that common experience and sadness and grief and yet joy of being together and all the other stuff that comes with getting old. you know? Not that we're that old. It's just the idea that time passes and our conversations are going to be a little different than our children's conversations and what they want to talk about. So it was wonderful to get together with just those siblings. And it was just my sisters at that time. So there's a picture there of us getting together outside of the family home and being able to bring up things that we thought were funny. Or I don't think we talked much about sad stuff. We talked about how we could relate to what was happening in our lives at the moment. So staying present and talking about that stuff. But I did with the podcast, I'm always thinking about people I talk to and find it interesting how one topic has so many different perspectives. And so I brought up the idea of when we were kids, there used to be a jail on our street. We live on Walnut Street, and there was a jail about 2 houses down or whatever. And a few of us remember the inmates having windows right along Walnut Street. And the jail wasn't that far back off of the street. So when we'd walk home from school or some church event or neighbors' houses that we went to play with or whatever it was, some of us thought of those catcalls, those inmates throwing silly things out the window and yelling at us. And my other sister was like, I don't remember that at all. I remember jail being there, but I don't remember these weirdos. And I thought, wow, that is so ingrained in my brain. And yet, again, there's another perspective that just thought, that doesn't seem to make any difference to me, so why should I think about it? Which is good. Trust me. But it's those kinds of things. And we talked about so many other topics, and it's so funny how that one stuck in my head. And I always get to the point with my sisters of laughing so hard that I come to tears. I don't care. Every time. That's how hard I laugh, and I am in heaven when it gets to that point. It's so much fun. That brings up another perspective, is the idea of maybe you've experienced when you get together with family members, or you just go back home and there's the neighbors and the people that you grew up with get together, and how you sometimes compare yourself. I know this has changed throughout time, but you want to be the good storyteller. You want to be the person that makes everyone laugh. You want to be the one that can relate the most or have the most empathy for whatever situation your family member, friend, neighbor is going through. That has changed to a point too where I thought, I don't need to compare myself anymore. I just want to enjoy what comes out. I want to hear what people have to say. I know it's different than what I think. And I want to hear about what they like, what they didn't like, what they remember in a certain situation. It's basically why I started the podcast, so that I could get other perspectives on the idea of going home. How many in your family? How many did you want to impress? How many people were you just so mad at that you couldn't understand why they would be so mean? All those things come into play, right? I sure wish it could have been all my brothers and sisters there to laugh and talk about these things. But timing is timing, and things happen when they happen. And I'm grateful for that time that we had together. And I know my mom was smiling down, thinking of us getting together. And I know Steve and Mark and Mike all wish they could have joined in. But I think in the back of my head, I know some topics came forward because of them. Now, how about the old homestead when you walk in that door and somehow it seems smaller? I'm bringing with me my 2 children and my husband, my daughter's husband and their 2 children. Now, those little ones have to have a space too for a crib or whatever. We go upstairs to put all our luggage down, and you walk into those rooms that you used to think are so big because they fit 4 sisters in that each room, that now there's barely room for 2 adults and 2 kids. Everything seems to grow smaller as I get older and bigger, I guess. But have you gone home and looked back at your family home and think, how the heck did we fit all that stuff in there? Or has it always sparse? We never needed much. There's always plenty of room, and that's great too. I just remember how we would prepare our mom and brother and sister, hey, we're coming in. They would make up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beds and have enough pillows, have enough pillowcases, have enough blankets or sheets, and make sure that all got played out and set up nicely. And then my poor sister and brother would be hounded by my mom. Now make sure you get that place dusted and vacuum those floors and dust all those things off. Now it doesn't matter. But again, it's knowing that we're all going to be in together and it doesn't matter how the house is. But I appreciate them allowing us to all gather back in that space. Another reason why that house feels so small, it just seems more empty, I guess. Now that Mark has passed and mom has passed and dad and grandpa, that Marcia found the strength and the courage to purchase that house and continue to live there and take care of it as much as she can. But I really appreciate that. I think now that mom has passed too, there's a perspective of us siblings, her children, stumbling a bit and trying to find our courage to keep going and wishing we had her wisdom and her compassion and her knowledge. She was all that, and I miss her terribly. I know all my brother and sisters miss her terribly. But that missing piece is a tough part to go back home to. And I think that's another reason why it's even harder for me to leave sometimes, is just knowing that as time passes, and your bodies can only last for so long, that those visits mean more and more each time. And I feel blessed that my sister's there for me and to have the family gather there. Tell me if your parents are still around, and when you do go visit, are they coming around and they still have that wonderful guiding force? I think mom had a really wonderful way of listening to us and helping to guide us. I know she had certain expectations, and we may not have fulfilled those expectations to the fullest as she wished that we would have, but I know she loved us all. The power of that woman's love would come through, and she would listen, and you could talk to her about anything. And I know my children also did that. I know they loved having time with her. And even my daughter recorded her talking about her life and what it was that took her into the medical field. Going home brings up those topics again. And I hope when you go home and you visit family members, that strength and that courage comes to you so that you can talk about the easy things, talk about the hard things, and come to understand and respect each other even more, which I feel like I do. Every time I go home, I see and understand the different paths that everyone has chosen, the challenges they have in those paths. And you just wish you could fix anything you could to make their life happier and better. But they're wonderful people. I know their faith is strong and they will do what they need to do to protect and take care of their kids and each other, which I hope I'm a part of that. And I don't know about you, but I feel like sometimes I revert right back to that 6-year-old, 8-year-old teenager when you come into that same space that hasn't changed much at all. And I find myself hoping that either I've been forgiven for past stupidity or voicing something that might have hurt someone's feelings, but I know that I no longer feel I have to compete with anybody. I don't have to compare my life with anybody. I feel we're all understanding each other, that this life is short and that we just want to be there for each other. I want to be there for all my siblings. I want to hear about what's going on in their life, and I want to give support wherever it's needed. It takes a while to come to the understanding that no one is responsible for your happiness. No one in the family is responsible for my happiness. They know there's nothing I can do to make their life perfect and make them happy. And the more I go into realizing my self-worth, my contribution, my aspect and perspective in this life, the more I value that, the more I respect everyone else's space, decisions, finding enjoyment, challenges, recognizing it and keeping that even keel. because I think that was something my mom kept too. I'm not sure about my dad when he passed when I was 18. I did see him get upset. I did see him when he had a little too much to drink. But for my mom, she could show happiness and laughter and share that joy. But she never seemed to sink really low into depression, or if she did, never felt like she was that woe is me kind of thing, mainly because of her faith, which was fantastic. And I tried to learn from that, but I too feel like I've just coming out of that headspace where I have to respect everyone else's decisions, how they choose to live, how they choose to be happy or sad or find themselves challenged, and I can't fix it for them. And try not to portray everything is good, not everything is bad. It just is what it is, and I have to control my reaction. So this is a little therapy session for myself. Let me know if you can relate to any of that, because I feel like I have to acknowledge some of these things that I've learned, and I'm hoping that people out there can also relate to that. You got to sit back and reflect, self-reflect. And it seems like I do that even more when I go home, because I recognize that younger person that I was when I lived there. I recognize what's happening at the moment and staying present. And I recognize that the future may not hold anything that I expect it to hold, but to be happy for the time that I have right here and right now. It's an interesting thought how much you want everything to remain the same when you go back home. You want the house to smell the same, to look the same, conjure the same feelings when you go home. You want the smiles to remain the same, and yet they can't. It's unrealistic to think that nothing will change. Everything changes. That's the only thing you can be sure of, is that everything changes. And those smiles, though they may have a few more crow's feet and, wrinkles here, still are that same blood and source that we came from. And so I think it's interesting how you have to have gratitude that some of those things are constant, where you can come into an atmosphere and a home where once there was tremendous love, there was tremendous grief, there was respect and love for each other to help you get through those tougher times. I don't know if when you go back home, if the weather is pretty dependable. We had to pack for a high of 48 and a high of 72. Luckily for the egg hunt, the day before Easter, we had a lovely sunny day with a slight breeze, and it was perfect to get out to the Sibley Park. And it seemed like when we got there, the dads had dispersed the eggs of all their kids. And luckily for us out-of-towners, there was someone that distributed eggs for the two grandchildren. And it's so lovely to see all these families come together. But the day was sunny, it was clear. I believe the day after that was a high of 48. And we thought, well, we'll take the kids to a little park. And we get there, and I don't think I had a warm enough jacket on or enough layers underneath, because we were on the teeter-totters and watching the kids in the swings and trying to climb and keep our blood moving. We left after maybe 20 minutes, maybe a half hour that we could stand it. And then it was just like, the kids' hands are freezing. Let's get them home, back into the warmth of the house. But then, of course, the next day when we were leaving on Monday, it was going to be a high of 72. So wear the huge jacket on the plane, because you don't want to pack it because there's no more space in the suitcase. But if you have a home that you go back to that's a little bit more consistent, let me hear about it. And if you have to pack with several layers, let me know. It's so funny how you have to be ready for anything. You never know what you're going to get, especially in Minnesota. My sister Donna was nice enough to allow everyone to come over after the Easter egg hunt over to her house and get together and grill outside, hamburgers, hot dogs. And it gave us all a chance now to sit with different groups of people, connect with the nieces and nephews that I hadn't had a chance to yet. and meet their little ones and their new family members, people that had gotten married while I still hadn't gotten back to Minnesota. So this growing extended family becomes more and more fascinating. Did you start out with a small family and it just continues to grow and extend? Or did you start with a huge family and now you have even more fingers of families going out? I love a growing family. Just the miracle of birth, the miracle of meeting a soulmate, marrying someone you love so tremendously, and then growing a family together and introducing that bloodline into further extension. So fantastic. Now we have to think about departure. And I don't know about you, but it's the night before that you start thinking about, okay, we have to check in. We have to make sure all of our belongings are basically in one room so that we can pack the next day. We have to think about time on the road, traffic to get to the airport, to drop off the car rental and still have enough time to get on the plane. And we have to think about gathering the family one more time before we leave the next day. And usually we leave the day after a weekend. Monday's a good day to leave, knowing that Sunday, most family members have that day off and you can get together and relax. And then the last thing you have to make time for us, is to take all the bed sheets off, get everything down in the basement so that your sister, when she has time, can put it in the wash. I feel so bad. That's 5 beds, 5 sets of pillowcases, bathrooms to clean. Anyway, that's another part of traveling back home. The day you leave, you're thinking about all the days you had prior to that. For me, that night before is the most special night. And sometimes, if we're lucky enough, people are up for doing a silly game or trivia or just telling more stories. But we had a game. I don't remember the name of it. Sorry, guys. You'll have to remind me. Someone from the family make a comment of what that game was that we played. Anyway, it was fun. It was embarrassing for me because I can't think that quickly. These people, I don't know, their brains work differently than mine does. So the synopsis of snapping these memories together and concluding that, oh, you're talking about whatever, I'm not good at. But I enjoy the hell out of watching everybody else think of these things, and I'm very impressed. Let me just put it that way. That night ends, people are saying goodbye, and you find yourself hugging people closer, squeezing them a little tighter, telling them how much you love them, which never seems to be enough. Whew. That is the toughest part, because, as I said, things change. You don't know how much time you have left. And it's not a way of thinking, oh, it's so depressing, I'm going to die. It's reality telling you nobody lasts forever. Enjoy these get-togethers. See how much fun you can have by staying in the moment, watching these innocent babies and grandchildren come together. Enjoy all those smiles that they create, all the entertainment they provide, and how everyone in that room is just acknowledging the love and the miracle of this little human that has come into your life that everyone loves so much. Whoever you know you're not going to see the next day, as you plan on getting in the car and leaving, you tell them again, thank you for spending time. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy life to come and just sit and laugh with us. Come and talk about your life experience and what's important to you at this moment in time, because the seasons change pretty darn quick. So hug them a little tighter. It's amazing too how more intensely you look at people and you look them in the eye and you tell them, please take care of yourself. Give yourself some self-love, because I love you so much. I cannot explain it in the next 5 minutes as you're walking out the door. And I tried to do that with my mother every time. Thank you. I love you so much. put up with us for another few years as much as you can. And she did. She hung in there really well. God bless you, Mom. And you see the love she had in their eyes for you and in my eyes for them. And if I talk about this anymore, you're going to see me bawling right here. You give these hugs and you think to yourself, please know how much I love you. Please know I am there for you. I don't care what time you have to call. I don't care what it's about. I want to know if you're celebrating something, if you're concerned about something, if you want to just vent about something. I'm here for you. I want to be here for you. And whatever has happened in the past is forgiven. Whatever may come in the future, we don't know. But right now, we have this time together. And I am very appreciative of that. And who knows? It might be another year or two before I get home again. Everybody's life gets busy, and that's okay. But when you do go home and you do feel those hugs from people that love you, I try to stay in that moment. And as I close my eyes and go to bed, knowing I'm leaving the next day, it sure feels good, makes it easier to sleep. And on that note, I bid you all adieu. I wish you good health. I wish you presence in those times of laughter and love, to know how much you are loved. And if you can relate to this, please let me know. Tell me other stories in your family that burst out and you have so much fun to talk about. I've met a few interesting people lately that want to be on the podcast, so I have to figure out connecting with them and making a schedule work and bringing that all to you. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe. And if anyone else you know can relate about going home and visiting and feeling the love of that home, let me know. Until then, have a great day. I'll see you next time.